Guys, I'm back and I'm going to do the eyes now. So I haven't quite decided what eye color I will do, but this is day 3 of coloring, and I'm trying to do a bit every day to get through my tutorials, and then we start putting the video footage together. So we're going to go on with PC901, and this is indigo blue. We're only going to use this slightly, just with a light hand. We're just going to create the dark shadows of the blue. I'm going to try and imagine, as I'm colouring this, a white light that goes in this type of motion. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to avoid that area with a lighter touch whenever I hit it. And you'll hear Breezy in the background making his little silly noises. I'm just going to blend it out. And then we're going to go on this side as well, do the same type of motion. It's more darker indigo here. And I'm going to go hard in to do the line to make it very prominent, because I want to make sure it's a very pigmented indigo. Bring it down as well. And again here, we're going to go a bit harder in pressure, do like a little triangle shape, and then blending that out and connecting it to where you've laid down before, like so. Same thing here. Remember, we're trying to imagine and be conscious of that white curvature light that is in the original. And I'm going to blend it out here as well. Rotating my pencil to maintain its sharpness, and small circular motions while we blend it further out. Don't be worried about how much blue you're laying down, because we'll layer it up with other colours. Okay. The next colour we're going in with is cobalt turquoise, which is PC105. We're going to go on top of that indigo and do a light layer and transition it out. Be conscious of your little imaginary oval line, like so. So see how I have that little oval line? It's just making sure that you're aware of it and not to layer so much in that area, because we'll try and burnish with a white to retain its colour. I'm going to put some of this turquoise under the pupil and connect this down to the indigo, like so. And then I'm going to go in with this aquamarine, which is 905, and blending out that colour that we previously laid down. I may bring in a more, I guess, forest green colour later on, but we'll just assess it how it goes. So again, like, you know, we're just going to go with the flow, see how things are, not be too set on the colours that we pick out, and sometimes, you know, you just see how things evolve and make a decision based on that and follow your artistic instinct. Then I'm going to go in with a yellow chartreuse, which is 1004, and what I want to do is I'm going to blend out that colour, bring in that yellow in there, and I want to do that because the yellow really draws you in. And looking at this, I'll probably bring in like a warm yellow. remembering to avoid that imaginary arch. Now the color that I'm going to put in next is the grey green light, which is 289 light layers. We're just going to lightly place it here at the bottom, and then also down here, and touching it to the outline of the bottom of the eye, keeping it in a yellow shape, keeping it in a circular shape. What I'm going to go in is with a warmer yellow, and I think I'm going to go in with something that is golden but not too bright. So let's go in with our warmer yellow, which is the Jasmine, which is 1021. And what we want to do is bring that yellow near the pupil and disperse it outwards in a very light color. Around here, I'm just going to lay it down like so, near that grey-green light, like so. Okay, so the next color I'm going in is a sand, which is 940, and it's going to transition between the Jasmine and that the chartreuse yellow color that we just put down. And then we're going to go over here as well. So what we're going to do now is a combination of going back and forth. Now I want to go in with like a earthy green color, and that color is the grass green, which is 909, and I'm going to go over here and transition it out, and then blend that out there, same as here. And I'm going to blend it down and soften it out a bit. And then we're going to go back in with the indigo, which is 909. We're going to just soften it and go around, same as here. Now I want to bring in some texture of some sort. With this goldenrod, which is 1034, I'm just going to create these little, if I can zoom in, I'm just going to create these little strokes, mini strokes, around the eye, and bring it to those colors that we've laid down. And because my pencil's sharp, it somewhat ingrains the paper, being conscious of that invisible arch color. I'm going to do it here too. And then we're going to go in with the Jasmine again and do those same little movements around the pupil, like so. And we're going to go in with that light green, grey-green light, which is there 298. And we're going to move in circular motions towards the bottom of the eye and transition it into the other colors. And we'll do the same here. Now I'm dragging in the indigo color just to create a bit of orb shape here, like so. And now what I want to do is go back in with the aquamarine, which is 105, and we're just going to blend like that, and blend into that indigo as well. Oh, there we go. Sorry, just blow it out for a bit. And then blending it up. Many noises. Sorry guys, I don't have a soundproof room. It is a dream to one day do that, but at this moment I hope you can bear with me and still enjoy. Okay, so I'm at this point where I kind of want to transition. I kind of want to start burnishing certain bits, so we're just going to add more layers of this grey-green light, which is 289, and we're just going to flatten the colour a little, moving in the shape of the eye, following that round contour. I'm going to bring it up like so to the edges, and you can tell when things are flattened when all the little white dots are starting to fill up with pigment. I want to go in with white, which is 938, you know, the part that we were conscious of, that little arch. We're going to burnish it, but in these type of motions, I want you to move it back and forth, like so. Being conscious, don't go too much, don't go too close to the dark because you'll pull that pigment down. We'll go in with Posca pens later on as well. So what I want to do is go in with, if you look at the original painting, she doesn't use black, she uses like a grey. And so we're going to do the same. So 90% warm grey, which is 1058. We're going to knock it back with some light colours as well, so don't you worry. And this is really, this part is going to be very simple, very straightforward. There's really no, there's not much technique to this point, because if you look at the original painting, with the putty beige, we're going to create the shadows around the eye, like so. You're going hard and you blend it out. Same as the other side as well. This side will be, there'll be a bit of blue in there. So I'm going to go in with the indigo, and we're going to keep this layer really light, because I just want a bit of that blue to come through when I burnish it. Same thing here. And then blending it out. Going in with the putty beige. Repeating our method with the other side. Bringing in a light layer of the 901, like so. Going in with a pink color, which is the blush pink, which is 928. Oh, forgive me for the focus. All right. I'm going to try and avoid getting in front of the camera with my hands because I noticed that it makes it blur. I'm going to put a bit of this 928, run it into the putty beige, and then going in with the putty beige, which is 1083, we're going to blend out that indigo up here, and quickly again we're going to go in with the white, which is 938. So what I want you to do is burnish those white bits, bring it up, and then flatten that color around the eye like so. Same thing here. Add a bit of Jasmine to this side, which is 1021. I'm just going to blend it into the surrounding colors and just bump out that warmth, that yellow tone. I'm going to get my Posca pen in the 0.7 mil. And I'm going to do little dabs. Down here as well. I'm going in with my other one, which is a white. I think this is a bullet shape marker. The only reason I'm using this is because I know it's more opaque. And I'm just painting in that arch. And what I was doing there was creating that orb, just emphasizing it. Because this is a bit opaque, it softens everything. We'll do the same thing here. Now, if you don't have Posca pens, you can always use white acrylic and just wash things down. And that's pretty much what this is. It's quite brand new, so it's not evenly shaped. But the reason why I use it because it's got that washed out color. And whenever I'm doing art, I'm making sure that I am consciously aware of my breathing in and out, and almost taking the time to meditate while I do art. If a lot of you use art as a relaxation, you have to be conscious of your breathing. Like so. Going back in with our smaller Posca pen. gonna go in with the dark grey colour that we previously used, which is the warm grey, which is 1058. I'm going to blend that in. Now if we zoom out, I just want to see how things look. I think the choice of eye color is correct in terms of how it makes the face pop. Eyes are quite striking at a distance as well. So I think next we'll go on to hair. So I'm kind of stuck as in what hair color. So I thought the best thing for me to do is go and do my background. So I got the 935, which is black. We haven't used black yet. And we're just going to create shadows. And around the elbow. I have a pencil extender on. This is by Derwent. Another tip that I actually witnessed someone suggest is actually super gluing the back of your pencils together, which I think is clever. If your pencil's short like this, I recommend using a Tutorial. So this is another sharpener I use. It's great because it's a wonderful blade, very similar to the Derwent manual sharpener, but it also controls the height of the tips. So the Derwent, you can't control the height, but this one you can, and it's great for, I guess, the longevity of your pencils, because, you know, sharpeners can really eat away at that color pigment. So I reckon if you're very precious with your pencils and not wanting to use it so much, a Tutorial sharpener is really good. Now, the background has a bit of texture to it, so I'm going to do really loose strokes. This is a part of the attire, so I'm going with a black and we just blend it out again. Really loose hand. You know, if you have a hard grip, as long as you practice mindfulness and constantly check in with your grip and loosen it, you just relax away that tension. It's one of the reasons why I like coloring so much, because the technique of coloring and being creative allows me to really focus in on my movements, my thinking, and what is going on in my head. And I think that's why a lot of people find coloring so therapeutic. It's expressive. going in with a slate grey, which is 936. We're just going to lay that down. You can bleed that slate grey into the hair as well, because there are blue tones in the hair. And I feel like the hair will be somewhat similar to the original. If you guys want me to do my own tutorials where I don't follow the original painting, just comment below and I'll do that for my next piece if you want. Sometimes it's nice just to express yourself through color choices rather than following a reference. So the attire is quite a, I would say, purple mauvey blue. The background is more of a grey tone turquoise. So what you will notice is we're just going to be layering a lot of the colours. And you can see me overlapping over the hair. That's perfectly fine. I'm just keeping those layers light just so that we have those blue undertones within the hair. Now the next color I want to go in with is a muted turquoise, which is 1088. Keeping my pencil on a horizontal hold. And I'm changing my grip so I have more control. I'm putting more of that muted turquoise here and here. Layering that muted turquoise in these areas as much as I can. Turning my pencil. So sometimes you will notice that the pencil, the wax snaps, and that often is because you put too much pressure on one end and it snaps a little. So that's why I always recommend rotating. But sometimes with like pencils, the core's too soft, so there's only so much that you can do. Which is why a Tutorial is great, because the sharpener is a shorter length, or it has 5 functions. Changing my grip, so I have more control. Sometimes people always leave backgrounds to the last, but sometimes I find you just got to give and take. You do the most exciting parts, the face, that pop, and then you do the background so that you can work in the middle. for like hair and these little objects here. Rotating my pencil, building up those layers, closing in that gap. We're going to go in with a slate grey again, which is the 936, and we're going to blend out that black that we laid down. And I'm making sure I work in horizontal strokes because I actually do want to pull that dark pigment because I want that texture to pop up. And as you can tell, my pressure is quite hard in this instance here. I'm going to go in with a white. Keeping my strokes horizontal where I can. I'm going to use an Imperial Violet, which is 1007. Blend out that black on the attire. We're going to go in with a slate grey, which is the 936. I'm just going to blend out everything that we just did now on the attire. You know, that slate grey is now pushing that Imperial Violet back, making it an undertone. I just want to blend this area out a bit more. I think what's really interesting about colouring is that now that we're at home more during COVID times, a lot of us have more anxiety and stress. This is why it's important to express and relax and do things that release anxiety. And as you can see, because I'm using this slate grey, it harmonizes with the background. I'm going to burnish where I've placed the black and blend it out. So guys, we're back and we're going to finish off the dress, and then we're going to do the hair. So we've built up all the color now with the shadows, and now we're going to go in with a lighter color. That color is Blue Slate, which is 1024. I'm just going to blend on top for now. We're not burnishing yet. I'm not going to go over the light bits of the fabric because I want to put some contrast in there, so I don't want to go. The word I'm thinking is monotone, but it's not that. I just want to bring it to I want to give it some contrast, so we're not going to go fully over all that light bit. We're just going to blend in this color, the Blue Slate, on top of the whole thing. And I have Breezy in the background making little noises, so don't mind him. I do enjoy the company, even though he's a bit noisy here and there. But I'm sure other people colour with pets around, with children around, and it's just comforting to have those noises. It doesn't seem so isolating. So what I've been doing these days is when I'm coloring, I also try to do some mindful coloring, which is not just going with emotions and using my pencils, but also being conscious of my thoughts, being conscious of my actions. Because it's like life, sometimes in life we go in like a robotic phase and just go with emotions. We're not conscious of what's going on around us. We're not conscious of our thoughts. And I like to take the time when I'm coloring to process all those thoughts in a safe and unpressured and non-stressful environment. And that's why I feel like adult coloring is such a wonderful art therapy technique. Although it's time consuming and it is something that people with impatience struggle to do, but I think it's a good thing to practice. Making sure I build some depth around the fabric. And towards the bottom here of the gown, I'm actually going to not have so much of a light color down here. And we're probably going to just build up the layers more. And we're going to probably do the same in the shoulder here and here. So you're seeing a lot of the light that is reflecting from the gown is in this shoulder. So I encourage down here, you don't need to be so precious with your layering. Just slowly build up those layers. And so you can see in some of my technique, when you take the time to build up those layers, you get something that it has a gradual transition. Whereas when you do it quite quick, such as this background area, you see more of a textured approach because we're pulling that pigment in and that's because we haven't taken the time to blend it up. But the reason why I did that was because I want that texture in the background. Whereas in the gown, because it's fabric, we want that smooth transition. So I'm doing some circular motions. Rotating my pencil. And remember to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Now the color I'm going to burnish with isn't light, isn't like a white. I want to have like a dark, somewhat a dark shadowed undertone. So if you just give me a moment. But I still want that coolness, so not the putty grey, probably the warm grey, which is 1052. I'm just going to build up that colors. I'm going with the flow, guys, so don't worry. If you like this color in the final picture, just follow what I do. Although you guys question sometimes when I pull out certain colors, but it all works in the end when you look at the whole piece together. So because this area is so dark in the original painting, I'm blending with this type of color to give it some contrast to the whole picture. Now, sorry, from what I am seeing, it's still quite light, and I think I want to still go over with a even darker color. So what we've done is, I wouldn't say we've burnished the page, but it's quite flat as it is. So we're going to go back in one of those shadow tones, and I think it will be the grey slate grey, which is the 936, and we're just going to go over everything. And so at this point, you'll see your paper would have pretty much flattened to almost 90%. So overall, this is the color tone that I want, but there needs to be some more depth. So we're going back in with the black, which is 935. And I'm just going to add another layer. And in this instance, we're going to do small motions because we want to blend things on top. And being conscious that your paper is almost flattened to 90%. You don't want to do big hard strokes. Adding more of that color down here, small circular motions. I know you guys hate the background noise. I'm I really need to film and record probably some background noise with some coloring, just some quiet, peaceful noises, because what I'm struggling with, not struggling with, but the main annoyances of YouTube is finding music that goes for an hour at the max, and sometimes I get copyright issues, which takes away from the monetization. So if you guys have any good background music that you know that you've heard before, please send to me. I'm going to put some more color here in the arms. And this will allow us also to add some of that dark color into the hands as well, and transition in. Now going on the left shoulder. So the strokes I'm doing now are mimicking the hair flow. I'm also going to do some black around here and kind of mimic more of a fabric texture. And again, when you get to these points, you can transition some of that. You can blend that black into the skin a bit. So we've done the left side of the gown. Let's go to the right. Oops. So we've done the left side of the gown. Now let's go to the right. And there's not so much black used up here, more further down. So let's start down here. More motions, short, blending things out. Blend it into the skin if you can. Lifting your pressure, blending it out, and just soften those edges once it hits the skin. Going around the tail of the bird. I'm following the motions of the fabric movement. I'm going to add a little shadow around this fish. And blending between the skin and the fabric around her neck, just to soften the line work there. A bit of shadow here in this bit of fabric. Just going to go over this in black, just add another layer. We're going to go back in with the blue slate. We're going to go over and blend we're going to do a whole layer on all the fabric. We're still going to go very softly once we hit the highlight points of the fabric, which are these little bits. And in a sense, we're pretty much laying the color up over everything. I'm not going too hard because we're not going to burnish any of this. We're just going to keep it really soft. Down here, we're going to pretty much burnish. Yep, and I want you to burnish over this as well. Alright, so that's the whole dress. So let's just zoom out and then we're going to see things as a whole. So you can see the way that I built up the contrast and the light. It works as a whole with the piece, and comparing it to the original as well. We're going to move on and do the hair and then the little bits around it. And this hair, as to the original, is very difficult because it's white and we're working on top of the colouring paper. Generally when I'm working with white hair, I like to work on Strathmore toned paper, and I'd like to print the artwork at a lighter grayscale as well, so that way the black ink isn't as prominent. I'm looking into priming my colouring pages so that we can lighten them, but I'm struggling to find a medium that is workable in this type of paper and doesn't flatten the paper tooth as well, because sometimes paints can do that. And yeah, so that's the intention eventually. Alright, we're going in with the slate grey sharp pencils for this. Okay, so going in with your slate grey. I've done a little, I think we'll zoom in. I've done a little circular thing here for where the skin meets. The thing is, it's not really skin colour. It will be like a grey. But we just want to create that shape there. Now what we're going to do is, I'm going to create these little shapes like this. And what I'm going to do is just outline shapes. Okay. So let's start off with the root of the hair. Now it helps if you move your body with this. So I've got to fix my setup so I can move. So give me a second. Alright. Just make sure you give yourself a bit of wiggle room so you can adjust your body to the hair, or just move your page, but because I'm filming I won't be able to do that. So what I'm doing is small little strokes to create hair texture, and where I've drawn those lines, we're just going to blend it out as we reach that point and just soften the strokes. Some of my strokes have a harder pressure, so the lines and texture come through. I'm going to bring it here. Now the slate grey is muchly used in here as like an undertone, and it just reconnects with the background. Rotating my pencil, ensuring it stays sharp. Here we're just going to lay a flat colour, no need for strokes. And here, towards the bottom, if I can zoom out, also just a flat colour. Is add more of that slate grey. At the top, what I want to do is in the same area, you want to go in with 1060, which is a cool grey. Not so much doing strokes, but just blending the strokes that have been laid down. At this point, what I'm trying to assess is getting the colour tones right between the whites and the greys and the blue slate. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a Posca pen, and this will really help me build an understanding of things. We're going to get the 0.7 mil. I'm just going to go on top of all these black lines around the hair. So we want to go in with some greys. So still going, excuse you, Breeze. That's Breezy the dog. I have a blue staffy. We're going to go in with a 20% grey, which is what we were using before. And as you can see, I've used the Posca pens to lighten everything. I think it really helps me with what needs to stay white. Using the reference image to guide me. So let's do this section. This section is not so much white, it's got a lot more greys in it. And this is not so much blending, but just straight hatching strokes. Really long ones that follow the motions of the hair. I'm going to go back in with that slate grey 936. Keeping your pencil very sharp so you get those defined hair strokes. We're going to go in with a dark grey colour This is a cool grey, 70%, which is 1065. I'm going to add this in to give it some depth. And that way it doesn't look all slate grey. There's a bit of tone and texture. And as you can see, because I've done the Posca pen and let that dry properly, I'm able to go on top of my artwork. And I also lift that ink pigment as well. We're going to add some of this 7% cool grey towards the bottom here. And near the face. And then up here towards the hair. Back in with a slate grey, which is 936. I'm just going to go in at the roots again, just amping up that blue tone at the root, like so. Okay, so that's the left side. Just going to go over, and as you can see, because we're not burnishing, we still got a lot of that hair texture coming through here. And now we're going to do the white part of the hair, which is through here. And it's only small portions, so it's like one of your focus areas are here, near the face, and towards the bird at the bottom. And you got a lot of this blue coming through, which is almost like the shadow of, or the shadow from the background. It's kind of enveloping the character. Let's zoom in. Towards the bottom here. going to go in with 20% cool grey, which is 1060. And this colour softens out that slate grey. I'm going to focus here. I practice a habit where every time I colour, I always spin my pencil. And that way it doesn't flatten one face of the pencil lead. So as you're always rotating and spinning, you're continuously using all sides. I'm going to go in with a 50% cool grey, which is 1063. This is just more to give it texture. Alright, the next colour I want to go in with is the 10% cool grey, and I'm just going to blend out and then we're going to burnish down here with the white, which is 938. What you do is go over everything, following the contours of the hair curvature. And don't worry, because we're going to go over with Posca pen. I'm going to go back in with the slate grey down here, which is 963. And then back in with our Posca pen. So in addition to adding more layers on the previously drawn Posca pen, we're just going to highlight certain points that the hair must have a highlight. Alright, so that's that section. I'm truly in love with that. That's really good. I'm really happy with that approach. And you know what? I wasn't overthinking it. I just went with the flow, and you know, I just kept working at it. And look, I'm just astounded at myself. Let's just move, now that that section's done, let's move to this section. We're going to go in with 60%, 50% cool grey, which is 1063 in this little section. Add some of that in some of these strands here, towards the bottom. And up here. And then into the slate grey colour around here. And we're just giving it that depth. Okay, now we're going to go in with the white, which is 938. I'm going to burnish all that, flatten that paper tooth, and don't worry, we're going to go in with Posca pen as well. So this Posca pen will mainly go near the face. We're going to disregard everything down here. If you guys don't have a Posca pen, you could use a fine paintbrush in acrylic. It just means you may need more drying time. That's that side. Do a bit down here. Picking up your 50% cool grey, 1063. I just want to emphasize and remember, practice your mindful colouring and breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and be conscious of your every movement. And letting go of all your worries and stresses, and just give all that passion, feeling and emotion into this piece of work. What you want to do is also go back at the root and in the curve of that fringe, this creates depth in there. We're going to go in with our lighter tone greys, which is the 20% cool grey, and that is 1060. Everywhere that we lay the 50%, we're just going to soften that with this colour. And then back into the top of the hair, same thing, blending all that out. Circular motions. Sorry, not circular motions. Hair stroke motions. And remember to spin and rotate your pencil. And again at the root. Let's go in with a lighter grey, which is the 10% cool grey. This one is 1059. I think I have a very disappointed and angry puppy here. Just give me a second. Let me just have a chat with him. Sorry about that. He didn't want to stay and keep me company, so I sent him away with his Faja. Okay, the next colour we're picking it up. Actually, let's stay with the 10% cool grey, which is the 1059. Blending that out. I'm just assessing the hair just to make sure I got the tones right. And as I look back, I want to soften these areas a bit. Same here. Now we go in with the white, which is the 938. This is where we just burnish from those white points. Now it's critical here to burnish the white points, just not so much here because it's about texture down here, but here it's also about gradient, texture as well as blending. And as you can see, I'm burnishing all these light points, bringing it slowly into the darker areas, but we're not going to burnish the whole dark area down here. What I'm going to do is go in with my slate grey, which is the 936, and I'm just going to add more of that colour back here. We're not going to burnish though, because I can see from the original painting that there's a lot more contrast than what I've placed down, and I want to add that. So by giving myself some flexibility, we're not going to burnish in those areas, but we're just going to blend it to that white. Here, you don't need to worry about the contrast or shadow work, so you can add more layers and depth, like so. And what I would like you to do is go in with the 10% cool grey. We're just going to soften those white highlight areas. Okay, now in with the Posca pen. I'm going to get 20% grey, which is 1060. We're just going to lay a flat colour here. And what I'm going to do is 2 hair strokes for the eyebrows as well. So bushy eyebrow trend is in, so that's why we're doing what I'm doing. We're just going to let the acrylic dry before we add any more layers. Go back here. Okay, that acrylic has dried. Going in with that 10% cool grey, 1059. You just want to add a bit of that shadow on the bottom so that it doesn't look too washed out. I'm getting a black, which is 935. With a sharp pencil. I'm just going to do the lashes. got my Takal. I'm going to sharpen it to a 3. For the love of God. I use a 90% cool grey there, which is the 1065, because my black broke and my spare black broke, so I got only small nubs, so I'm gonna get another one.